I can't change what happened. No matter how hard I try, it's not like my parents will just forget that I pulled a knife on them while they were sleeping. Even if they do know I wasn't being myself in the moment, there's always just a wandering suspicion that maybe one day I'll do it again. Or maybe it's just that it's been who knows how many years since the possession took place, yet I still think about it almost every day. My psychologist said that these fears will fade, but if so, I haven't really noticed. If anything, they've gotten more intense. My dad told me that after he wasn't able to disassemble the animatronic, he brought it back out to the desert, leaving a warning for anyone who found it. I often wondered if it was still out there, just completely untouched by society. For years, I began to take up a huge interest in paranormal research. Throughout my later teen years, I figured I should try and study something I knew was truly haunted. So when I turned 18, my friend Justin and I took his truck out to the desert to find out. My dad wouldn't tell me where exactly it was, but I knew the general vicinity. So the side road wasn't too hard to find when we finally saw the Chuck E. Cheese animatronic out there. A shiver went down my spine. It looked exactly as it did when I owned it all those years ago. The note my dad had left was almost completely disintegrated, so if someone had found it, they wouldn't have even been warned. My friend pulled out something called a spirit box. It's an electronic device that picks up words from paranormal sources. He started scanning up and down the animatronic, seeing if he can find anything. When almost immediately we started hearing this murmuring. From the box, it was very quiet, but once he turned up the volume, he shuddered and took a step back. It was clear that the spirit box was reading. It was a list of names, 5 names to be exact. Kaylee, David, Cody, Austin, and Sammy. Just repeating them over and over. For some reason, the words almost put me into some kind of trance. Like it was connecting to my consciousness on a deeper level. Then suddenly, the robot's arm jolted forward and grabbed me. The words Plaza Town flooded my mind over and over with visuals of kids and parents screaming. The words were familiar, but I wasn't quite sure why. Horrified, Justin pulled me away quickly. We got in, and Justin peeled away as fast as he could. "That thing was getting in your head, man," Justin yelled, while he accelerated towards the highway. I just sat there, stunned, not really sure what to say. At that point, I realized what the words Plaza Town meant. It was the name of a mall about half an hour away from my neighborhood. "Plaza Town Mall. I think something's gonna happen there," I said to Justin in a panicked tone. He looked at me fearfully, and I could tell he didn't want anything to do with this ordeal. So he pretty much just dropped me off as soon as he got the chance. I decided to take my own car to check out the mall a couple hours later. As like most malls these days, like 90% of the stores were closed, out of business, and all the halls seemed like a complete ghost town. At least until I turned a corner and caught a glimpse of a Chuck E. Cheese restaurant. There was a line of kids and parents all the way out the entrance. Upon looking inside, it was like gazing into the 90s. The theme and decor was all spot on, as if it hadn't changed in the last 30 years. The craziest thing about it, though, was the sheer number of kids. I mean, it was packed full, and a mall where maybe 3 stores remain open. I went inside and quickly found the manager, staring over at the stage in the back. I walked up to him and got his attention. "Excuse me, I was wondering if you guys were always this busy?" "The last 2 months, yeah. Ever since we got those." The manager pointed up at the stage. Suddenly, the lights dimmed and the curtains began to open, slowly revealing one of those full animatronic bands. As soon as they started playing, all of the kids started going nuts and cheering for them. I had never seen that kind of reaction before, anywhere. It was the classic Munch's Make-Believe band. I think I saw them as a kid once, and they were just as strange looking as I remember. Instead of playing a song, though, they started making these weird noises from everyday life. The Chucky robot emitted a sound of a baboon, and seemed to look out to the audience to judge their reaction. The Pascali, the chef animatronic, started playing the sounds of car crashes and explosions. It was really weird. I expected to look over and see the manager freaking out, but he looked enthralled. He started strangely laughing and clapping his hands, just like all the kids were. The show ended on Chucky mumbling some inaudible words, as the others played their instruments lightly in the background. The curtains closed, and strangely everyone in the room remained fixated on it, like they couldn't believe it had ended. Then they all just got up and started to leave. "Hope to see you again tomorrow," the manager yelled, as he waved to them and pointed towards the sign at the entrance. It read, "Munch's Make-Believe Band. Special Birthday Bash," and was dated for the next day. That night I couldn't stop thinking about the place. Something was just so eerie about those kids' obsession with the band. Before I finally got to sleep, I made the decision to go there the next day and see what this birthday bash thing was going to be, and try and keep an eye on the place. Once I got back, I was surprised to find it was even busier than the day before. One thing I noticed too was that the kids from yesterday seemed to have brought friends along. This time everybody had pizzas at the center of their tables and special decorations for the party. The kids didn't even seem excited though. They were mostly just waiting for the band to come on, literally standing next to arcade machines and not even playing. Finally, the lights began to lower once again, and the animatronic band came out. The 5 members now had birthday hats, and totally new costumes. Chucky began to mumble under his breath once again, and the guitars played off-key in the background. There was a young boy with a blue hat at the very front of the stage, jumping and going crazy. I had seen him the day before as well, and he seemed like one of the most hardcore fans of the bunch. As I watched the band, I began to feel this euphoria, like I was being lifted out of my body and floated over the room. And then it turned completely white, and I saw myself as a kid. I was holding a knife above my parents' bed, staring down at them. Then the younger version of me looked back and screamed this blood-curdling scream which woke me from my trance, and I regained my bearings. I noticed that the kid in the blue hat was now missing from the front of the stage. Looking around, I realized 2 other kids seemed to have vanished as well. I started searching around the room, looking for them, and saw something that made my stomach drop. The eyes of both children and parents watching the show were completely white, as if rolled into the back of their heads. They were just swaying there like zombies, listening to the bizarre music, if you could even call it that. Without any option of what to do, I saw a fire alarm on the wall next to the stage. I ran over and immediately broke the glass and pulled down on the handle. The alarm went off and water began pouring down from the ceiling. The kids, parents, and even manager seemed to regain focus at that point. But it was then that I heard the parents start screaming. 5 kids had gone missing. There was a panic to find them. I looked down the hallway towards the back of the restaurant and noticed an emergency exit closing. I ran out the back door and saw a kid walking down the alleyway. Once I finally caught up, I shook him. I told him to turn around and go back, to which he immediately started crying. I was eventually able to find and awaken 3 of the other kids, and luckily they were reunited with their parents. All of them, except for the boy with the blue hat. Police were informed, but they were never able to locate him. Although they did say they were aware of similar occurrences happening in nearby areas of late, they apparently had some tip of some psycho living in the storm drains around the city, a guy they referred to as the Sewer Seal. In the end, that Chuck E. Cheese establishment closed down for good, and the band was decommissioned as far as I know. However, after that ordeal, rumors spread like wildfire across the internet about the 5 kids who went missing at the Chuck E. Cheese. That wasn't exactly the truth, though. It really was only one kid, and sadly he was never found. If you ever find yourself at a Chuck E. Cheese in the future, and see they have one of those animatronic bands still in operation, I would definitely leave that place. You don't want to be the next one to go missing. Well, let that be a lesson to you all. Keep those you love close, or others may keep them closer. Good night, everyone.